PIREPS are golden information. I know because you've received them yourself when you've called for a weather briefing or when you've looked them up. They're good for a private pilot, but even better for instrument rated pilots. And they are things that we should pass along to other pilots as well. It's as easy as just giving it to ATC a report of what? Things like ceilings. What are the bases at? That's really helpful to know. If you're going up IFR, somebody else gave you some information on that. That's extremely helpful. And so is tops. What's the top of the IMC conditions? Where do you expect to punch out of the clouds? That might factor into where the icing levels are at, and other considerations. What are the visibilities, the type of precipitation you might encounter, wind, turbulence, icing, and wind shear. So look these up. These are golden information, and it's information we want to get, and it's information we want to give. Here's a PIREP, a routine report that is, the PIREPs in the coded form always tell you what is the information over, or the location is PDK, Peachtree DeKalb Airport in Georgia. And the time stamp was 1040 Zulu. Flight level, is the way they always say altitude, is 3,000 feet. And this was a Learjet 35. What he was reporting was overcast at 800 feet. That was the bases. And the tops, 3,000. So very helpful information here. You got ceiling and you got tops. And this was noticed during climb from the surface to 3,000 feet. Here's another one that happened over MCN, this time at 600 feet. This was at SR22. Again, reporting the bases and the tops. Also threw in turbulence negative. And this again was during climb out, and it is clear above. Clear above what? Clear above 3,400 feet. That's also helpful information. Not going to be multiple layers. Good to know as an IFR pilot. PIREPS, very good information. And then we got the METs. Remember the METs, air MET, SIGMET, convective SIGMETs. Little review here. Air METs are hazardous weather to particularly light aircraft. That's typically what you and I are probably flying. The larger aircraft, the jets, the airlines, they're not quite as concerned about air METs. They get that on a daily basis. They can deal with it. But it could affect our go, no-go decision in light aircraft, for example, turbulence. And what type of turbulence? We're talking about moderate turbulence. Okay, so we're not talking about light turbulence, and we're not talking about severe turbulence, because if it were severe, then it would be coded as a SIGMET. Okay, so an air MET is for issues of moderate intensity. So a tango would be moderate turbulence is forecast, and or it could be sustained surface winds of greater than 30 knots. Either one of those two issues would produce a tango air MET. Sierra, air MET Sierras are for what? IFR areas and or mountain obscurement, meaning the clouds envelop the mountain is in the clouds. That is dangerous. IFR areas when the visibility is less than 3 or the ceiling less than 1,000, and visibility and cloud issues could be because of rain, mist, smoke. Any of those things can, of course, drizzle, can fog, it can reduce visibility, and cloud ceilings again below 1,000. And then air MET Zulus are freezing levels and forecasted icing areas. So with air MET Zulus, you're going to get a prediction of what the freezing altitude would be. What altitude in your area would the temperature be at 0 degrees Celsius? Very important to the IFR pilot, because you really don't want to be at the freezing level in IMC conditions. That is almost a guarantee for producing ice. But if you have clear conditions and no clouds, then the freezing level isn't quite as crucial. Or if you have all low level clouds and you'll be well above it at the freezing level, that is not as much an issue either. But if you have multiple cloud layers and the freezing level is going to be in the range of your cruising altitude or altitudes, that's going to be something to think about. So you want to look at air MET Zulus for that, but also they're going to give you forecasted areas of icing. What kind of icing? Not light, not trace, but moderate. So air MET Zulus can give you forecasted areas of moderate ice. So just because you don't see an air MET Zulu for ice doesn't mean you might not have some light ice issues. Important to realize that difference. SIGMETs are significant meteorology, and that's hazardous weather to any and all aircraft. That would be severe stuff. So severe turbulence, it's going to get in the category of a SIGMET. Severe icing, is going to be a SIGMET. Remember, moderate icing would be a Zulu, and light or trace icing is nothing. Even though I would say it's just as urgent and important to make a change of plans with even light ice. We talked about that in the last session. Convective SIGMET is anything thunderstorm related. So it's any hazardous weather associated with thunderstorms. It might be severe icing, it might be severe turbulence, but if it's in conjunction with thunderstorms, then that'll be a convective SIGMET. So these are the METs, just to review those once again.